everyone. Welcome to Real Estate with Ryan. So excited to be with you on a Saturday talking a little real estate. It's always a great time to be in the studios. Ending the week strong is what we like to say, as the market is ever so close to fall market. It's hard to believe. Fall's officially here. October right around the corner. Last quarter of 2024. That's hard to believe. As we're eyeing 2025, presidential election coming down last quarter, a lot of things going on in the real estate market, a lot of transfers, a lot of relocations by the first of the year. How have the rate cuts, how has that adjusted the market? How has it affected your property, East Tennessee, and all that? So a lot of things to cover over the last couple months, and I appreciate you tuning in. And if you're tuning in for the first time, we do this little show called Real Estate with Ryan, where we talk about real estate in East Tennessee and how we can help you cover a lot of different topics, and always try to have fun with the show. So appreciate everybody listening, and you can find us on News Talk 98.7, 1 o'clock there, and also catch us at Talk Radio 92.3 FM at 11 o'clock. And then we're streaming all over social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course we're on all the podcasts there with Spotify, iTunes, and Google. You name it, we're there. Appreciate you guys doing about 8 years running on the show, and thanks to my team and everybody that listens to this, because trust me, couldn't do it without you. Talking about the real estate market, I've got a great show for you today. We'll start in some congrats right after that, but we're talking about, last we talked about surveys, and I wanted to kind of carry that topic over because, you know, buying a home or selling a home was one of the biggest moves you're going to make, and it's a lot on the line. You know, with today's economy and so many different things, surveys are cost, title insurance are cost. We're going to break down these things, kind of give you some feedback behind the scenes, insider tips on it, just give you some ideas of what to expect. Some of these things are like, you know, a foreign language, right? You know, you look at some of it, you're like, Ryan, I've bought 1 or 2 homes my whole life. I'm counting on you to do these things. And but it's the more we know about it, we understand, and hopefully this segment, you know, in a short period of time, we can cover some of the highlights there and give you some insight. So today we're talking about title insurance. Last week we talked about surveys. Title insurance is important. We're going to carry over what's in that title insurance policy, right? What are the exceptions, things to watch out for? You know, you spend $500,000 on a property, you want to make sure you own that property. Or when you go to sell it 5 to 7 years down the road, you may have bought it from seller X, right? But it was an estate sale, or it was new construction, and then you go back, and before you know it, there's some permits that weren't pulled, or something wasn't done right, or a survey, you're like us last week, before you know it, you got somebody cutting a driveway on an easement, right, of your property that you think you own, but you don't own. So we're covering all that and why the title insurance is so important for you, and then exclusions. And then we're going to talk about an opportunity if you're going to get it, title insurance, should you do it, or is it an extra cost that's not needed? We'll weigh both of those options. And then we'll just talk about the market. Second half, we'll talk about getting into the market. Is now the right time to buy, or should we wait, right? Should we wait? I hear a lot of people say we're just going to wait till the elections. And we're talking about how waiting may end up costing you down the road. But it's a personal decision. So we'll cover that and so much more. Let's get right into the show. We've got, let's got some congrats. So we'll start with that first. Let's see here. New listing that's living out, or that's listing out in Kodak. 2742 River Island Boulevard in Kodak. Brand new listing on the market. On the water. Beautiful luxury property out there. Over 4,000 square feet with the basement, pool, you name it. It's very modern. You want to definitely check that property out. We'll be on the market next week. Congrats to our great builder friend on Meeting Street. Sold another one of those units. Congrats. We do have 6 to 8 more new constructions pending. So if that are coming on the market here, they're actually active, but they're not all the way completed. You still have opportunities to pick colors, etc. That's out in Dandridge. Make sure you check that out on ryancoleman.org. We've got all those properties that we do have left. Congrats on our property on Ashland Lane and Oak Ridge going under contract. And congrats to property out on 𝐂𝐲𝐲 Drive. Great friends of April. Thank for you guys listening to the show and appreciate your support there. And a good past client of mine out in Loudon Highway. Congrats on the sale of your home there. And so we know, we'll get into the vol stuff. We'll take about that for the second half of the show and get kind of right into it. All right, so Title insurance. What is title insurance? Do we need it? Do we don't need it? Well, title insurance is something that when you purchase a property, every time you're going to have a title insurance done, hopefully, or a title report done. So what happens when you purchase a property? They do something called chain of title, where they go down to the courthouse and they search all the records of previous owners. And they make sure they search the deed. And that person that searches the title is called a title abstractor. And usually these are independent searchers or companies that search titles for a living. I'm going to be very detailed on that job. They would not want me there. But that being said, it's a very important job because it's a chain of title that affects the sale of your property. And so they do a search that goes back several years. I used to know off the top of my head exactly how far they go back through. It always changes. But it goes back several years on that title search to make sure that there was, let me give you an example. Great client that we're working with now, have a lender. And there was no issues with the title except that one of the lenders back in the 2008 to 2010 market, one of those lenders that went out of business, that mortgage was sold, paid off, or transferred. And there's an unreleased deed of trust. So if you're in the title business or if you're a real estate broker or agent out there, you've heard of these things that have come out. Well, this unreleased deed of trust is called a cloud on title or an issue on title. Most lenders moving forward, and specifically our great client's house out in Halls, they can't do anything. It's an issue. So it's IndyMac, if you ever heard of who IndyMac is. And so they're not in business, so you got to go find them. And so there's a process for that. Now, I've got a great title company that we work with, and we've got solutions to help solve those problems. But when you have something called an unreleased deed of trust, you've got to start somewhere. And so then now you have to track down that lender or who it was sold to that should hopefully have the information so you can clear and show that that property was paid off properly. See, the lender doesn't want a loan on the property, being that there may be another claim or a right to the policy. So it can get really stressful. I know my sellers out there, that's why I wanted to talk about this, because they're needing to do a refinance and do some repairs and some things and updating and finish some things out. And so they were trying to grab a HELOC on loan on it, and then this came up. So we're helping them get that situated. So title insurance is so important, and it's something you pay one time and you pay at closing. I'm not in the insurance business, so I'm not going to get into it. So we'll get into the pros, the cons, if it's worth it. But it's important that you guys know exactly what it is, what it covers, and if you're purchasing something, even if it's paid for cash, right? Do you need to get the title and policy? I'll let you guys decide on that. So on the title insurance itself, when you're buying a home, there's many essential steps in the process of obtaining title. And that's a legal concept that confirms you have received ownership rights for the property from the seller. But this happens if this happens if there are legal financial problems with the sale. Sometimes we'll go back to 2010 market. We did a lot of short sales, or if it's a foreclosure. And then what if it's a new home, could cost you more than the purchase price and unforeseen complications. Those are things to think about, and we'll get into it. How does the title insurance work? Let's get into the details. We talked about, you're paying a one-time fee. It is part of your closing cost. So that fee varies, and that fee will vary from price, and typically could be between $500 to $3,500 one-time fee, depending on the price of your property. Most of the time, it's tied to your loan amount. So your loan amount would be what you're paying the insurance on. Let's see, how does title insurance work? The last thing you want to do is put down a lot of cash on a property to find out something was hidden, like our guys, unreleased deed of trust, something like that. Title insurance protects you from that. If you're working with a title company, you're less likely to encounter these problems after the fact, but it still pays to have a title policy. Title companies offer policies alongside their title search that process during the title company to ensure that the legal owner has rights to transfer to you. With title insurance, buyers and lenders are protected against any deficit or claim that the title may have caused or cause you serious losses. What does the title insurance cover? Some of the details there. Conflicting ownership claims, right? oh, it's mine, or there's heirs in the property, or you get into one of the heirs where there's a lot of these estates, we come into it, where there's heirs and maybe somebody died without a will. And so that comes up a lot as well. And then you truly have to track down everybody of the ownership. And if you miss one heir, one grandchildren, or one grandchild, look, we're coming on a break here in just a second. We'll talk about more title insurance here after this at the second half. Stay with us.
Your friend promised we wouldn't be homeless.
He promised. He's doing everything to fix it.
You need to call and have him fix it now.
Hey, man.
Found us a house.
No, not yet. Let me call you back. We're working on it.
Ryan Coleman with Hometown
He says he's doing the best he can do, honey.
Well, he's taken too long. I knew we should have gone with Ryan Coleman.
Choosing the right agent is never easy.
Call your hometown experts. We'll take care of all the details and make sure you don't get stuck in a motel. I'm Ryan Coleman with Hometown Realty. The real estate market's changing every day. You need to know your home's value in today's market. Text your home address to 290-2290 for an instant, no obligation home evaluation. That's 865-290-2290. And remember, when you're ready to sell, we have a guaranteed sale program to get you in your next home stress-free. Trust your hometown experts. We've helped thousands of people just like you.
All right, we're back at it, Real Estate with Ryan, second half. Sorry. We're getting into details. There's so much going on, so much to cover. Try to do the best I can, man. But that break comes on quick. So, my wife always says, Ryan, you can just talk. And we won't go story time. But before you know it, 30 minutes is gone real quickly. So I want to stay on track there. But I really appreciate you guys. And let's cover our 60-second vol update. Let me get some notes here, kind of updating last week. All right, let's drum roll, please. 60-second vol update. As you guys know, last week was an amazing game as the Vols beat the Sooners 25-15. Stat leaders there. Let's see here. Nico, 13 of 21, 194 yards, one touchdown. Dylan Sampson, 24 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. And Brew, yes, Brew, 4 receptions, 92 yards. Big game for Brew. I'd say the MVP is the defense, an amazing defense last week. And we are off this coming week. Next game will be October 5th. Arkansas, play Arkansas. And that's going to be an away game. And then out there, our next game will be at home versus Florida. So definitely don't want to miss that. So amazing to watch our Vols. There's a lot of news about it. Make sure you check it out. I'm sure you guys are listening, excited like we are. And out on the commercials this weekend. Check it out. Out on some of the bigger networks, ESPN, different news networks, SEC Network. See us on social media. We got the new commercial with Brew, and our team put that together, did an amazing job. Let us know what you think. Only good feedback, right? Only good feedback. Brew actually narrated the spot, which I thought was pretty awesome. He's got an amazing voice and a great young man. We just really enjoyed working with him. And so hats off to my team. And it's always exciting watching these guys. We do these spots, and we've been doing this for four or five different players, from Hendon to Joe to Josiah, now Brew, and it's always amazing. You get a little connection with them and opportunity to meet them behind the scenes, and so we're rooting extra hard for them. I know my kids are kind of attached. When they see them on TV, they think they have a special connection, and so it's super cool. So thank you for all that, and Brew, we appreciate you, and best of luck in an amazing season to you and the Vols. And as always, Hometown Realty, proud sponsor of the Vols. Go Big Orange. So much going on. It's football time. Real estate market is heating up. Seen the little contracts pick up since the rates, but it's not overflowing. Is the rates signaling that the economy is a little bit worse than what we thought? Or are people waiting for the election and for a new year? I don't know. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the second half. We're talking about title insurance. So that's real fun, Ryan. It's important. I think it's so important that we have that opportunity and that discussion, because buying or selling a home is one of the biggest investments you're going to make. And most people buy or sell a home a couple times in their lifetime. And so a lot of this stuff, yes, is given to us, but kind of the ins and outs of our business, but most people don't talk about it. So I thought it was important that title insurance is so important, especially that we've seen several issues come up. And I'm sure people in the title business see this all the time, but we always want to have a successful closing, and the more you know, the better you are. And we're talking about title insurance. What does it cover? It covers a lot of different things. As we were talking about the first half, conflicting ownership claims. We were talking about if it was an estate. We see a lot of that. And if they didn't have a will, this will protect you if some of the heirs or somebody in the chain of title was missed and they didn't get that signature, and they can say, hey, well, I didn't agree to the sale. What do you do there? The property's already sold, but was it legally transferred? That's a question for an attorney, obviously, but there's an insurance policy if that has to go back and purchase it or if that can't be worked out. Outstanding lawsuits, liens, and invalidate the seller's legal claim. Erroneous or flawed public record signatures. We've seen a lot of fraud. Let me just tell you, one of the deals we saved last year, and I couldn't even imagine this, but this is why, if you're ever going to buy a title policy, this is one reason, especially land. We had a guy, I don't know who the guy was, but he didn't get the feds involved, that purchased land on a lot we listed. I mean, it was a wild deal. And the guy was not who the guy said he was. He was committing fraud. But, you know, a lot of these properties are out of state. Owners are out of state, I may say. And, you know, sometimes we don't have an opportunity to meet them. And it's over the phone. And, you know, like anybody, we assume that if you own the property, go in details, that you are who you say you are. That being said, fraud is rampant on a lot of land sales, especially in the Sevierville-Gatlinburg market. But I've also had one here in Knoxville. It's like back-to-back, similar scenario from an estate. So if for some reason that somebody has actually signed, committed fraud, and sold your property, let me go back into story time. This guy said he was the person. It went as far as we caught the deal, and, you know, the guy had this, it was the weirdest deal. I probably don't have enough time to talk about it. But the guy actually was out of state towards the D.C. area, and he actually took the package, IDs, he sent those to the title company, did all that information. Luckily, me and the attorney, we were able to head this off and stop it. But he actually had this notarized, a whole package sent back. They were set to close. And anyway, we were able to catch it. But if not, he would have sold this property, made a significant amount of money on a property he didn't even own, and that was fraud. And so, how scary is that? But if you bought title insurance or something like that's happening, you know, you're going to be protected. So, you know, hands down, if you're going to buy title insurance, it's 100% best to do that outright. And I know a lot of people that, or title companies that have had the same or similar issues. Won't go into all that, but outright fraud and forgery, it definitely covers you because of that. Undisclosed easements and other agreements that may limit the usage or reduce the value of the property. We talked about that in the Sevierville and Gatlinburg market, how important that is. And we see that a lot where these easements happen to us as well, where you've got a lot of the roads are county maintained, they're covered, right? But then there's easements. And then you'll go back through the title search, and then the title search covers and says, well, you'll reference a deed book or a page book to an agreement. And you really have to go down to the courthouse records or rely on your title company to do that. But I'm going to tell you up front, and I love our title company, make sure you get a copy of your title policy or the exceptions when you make a purchase. Don't just send it to your lender. And we'll talk about different types of coverage, but I would encourage you, make sure you have a copy of that policy, because on there it's going to list the exceptions or everything that's covered. And they usually talk about if there's a road maintenance agreement, if there is a separate agreement, what does it cover? That's another important aspect of it. See, I just don't think 30 minutes is enough to cover everything here. But that being said, make sure you cover that. And there's two types of policies. Make sure you look at it and understand it. And if you don't, make sure you have a consultation with your title company so that you can understand it. And if you don't, they have title attorneys on staff that can explain that. The legal ease of all the transactions is something very, very important. you do have two types of policies to choose, right? Lender's coverage or owner's coverage. Lenders only protect the lender, go figure. And then if you're saddled with back taxes and aren't personally insured, that will not be covered. So that's important to know. So owner's coverage is always recommended. It really is not much different from everything else that you would actually pay. So make sure you can check both of those. But on those exclusions, and kind of want to round about that and talk about that, those exclusions are key. And if they reference a deed or a book page or an easement, it's important to make sure that you go check the other lots. So if in our case, lot 21 was affected, lot 22, and let's just say you're lot 20. Well, that easement pertained to all three of those properties. Now, the problem with a lot of these easements, you could be maintaining the property, right? You could be doing the things for the property, but that doesn't mean you own it. They just say, hey, well, they appreciate it. And a lot of these easements for periods of time, along with shared well agreements, which are really big in the Sevierville-Gatlinburg market, need to be recorded, but they also don't cover who's going to maintain what and who's going to cover what cost. So make sure you understand that going into that. And then, of course, with the title commitment as itself, there's an opportunity if you're buying title insurance, in which I would really encourage getting, is a enhanced coverage policy. All right, it's enhanced. You can get it. It covers a lot of different things. I'm kind of going to speed through it. But basically, it covers enhanced risk of the property, inflation coverage, building permit violations, covenants, restrictions, if you're in an HOA, certain things like that, encroachments, these kind of things come in. And you don't have to buy a survey. That's one of the biggest things that I would encourage. Title insurance, I definitely recommend it. It's a one-time fee. Hope you've enjoyed this show. And you guys have an amazing week, and we'll look forward to seeing you back next weekend. Go Vols. Go Big Orange.